that is the true king of the jungle. So one of my clients and one of my subscribers actually had a very similar question that I thought I would answer via YouTube. So the question is, why on longer streaks of semen retention and nofap do I start to get more hate, especially from other men? Now this is a very curious question and one that I have experience with. This might present itself in the way other men are looking at you, perhaps how they're talking to you, and the hint of bitterness or resentment that you may feel underneath the underlying conversation. And the answer to this is actually very simple. It's projection. Many men, and I probably use men in quotation marks, haven't actually experienced or have yet to experience the presence of true masculine energy in their lives. The reason I say that is most modern men, most men that you will talk to every single day, are depleted of their creative energy, of their sexual energy. We can't get away from this fundamental truth that our sexual energy is also creative energy. It is the energy that allows us to do creative pursuits other than biologically creating another human life. So it could be writing, it could be artistry, it could be creating a course or a business, entrepreneurial pursuits. And those men who are typically very proficient in those creative crafts that I've just said have a high degree of sexual energy that they have cultivated over time, to the point where they are no longer expending their energy in more degenerative pursuits, pornography, masturbation, PMO, promiscuity, going to clubs and bars and other places where, again, promiscuity and behavior like it is the fundamental, let's say, point of those environments. So that individual then comes to a place where they may be observing you or somebody else who, again, is high in creative energy, and you become a judge. This is very difficult to accept for that individual, because whether or not they are conscious or not, they are going to be comparing their habits, their behaviors with yourself. So there's two ways this is done, subconsciously and consciously. Subconsciously will be in how they feel typically towards you. This could be in very subtle things about how you're talking, how you're presenting yourself to not only to this individual but to the world. High energy, vibrant, abundant. You no longer have that scarcity mindset. You're not looking for the next piece of pussy to chase. You already come from a place of wholeness, of completeness, and they can feel that field around you, your aura, if you will, and they will, again, are comparing that to how they feel empty, projecting the fact that they are coming from that place of lack and they don't have those things that they see so clearly and feel so clearly from you, the example of the divine masculine. Consciously, so the conscious way that they will perceive this in is how you interact socially, perhaps with other women, so they see that you're getting a lot of female attention, that your entrepreneurial pursuits are being successful, so you may have a business or an agency, or you're a keen investor, you spend a lot of your time in creative pursuits every day, design, art, you're typically self-employed at this point, you don't have a boss, you are your own boss, and again you can embody that creative energy that you've cultivated rather than wasted on fleeting and finite pleasure. So those are primarily the two domains that that person is going to judge you by and where that manifestation of hate is coming from. So conscious and subconscious perception towards you. I just want to talk a little bit more on this judge idea and give you a little analogy of what I mean by that. We need to come to a understanding that we are emotional creatures by nature, and whether or not you are, let's say, transparent enough to admit it, you're going to have a mixed bag of emotions depending on other people's, let's say, victories. So I want to give you an example. Say you have a best friend. You might have a best friend for some time, maybe from kindergarten or nursery or primary school. And you've known them all your life. You're always going to be a good friend with them. And very more recently, they have come into a place of success. Maybe they have their own business. Maybe they get a sense of celebrity from YouTube or another kind of media pursuit, and they begin to cultivate, a wide audience and some fame that's associated with that. As much as the first reaction to that is going to be joy and happiness and good wishes for your friend for achieving that, if you begin to unpack it a little bit more, you'll find elements of resentment, of bitterness, and of judgment. We can't help but be judgmental and comparative by nature. So when you come into the presence of somebody that has those things that you're feeling subconsciously and consciously in terms of their energy, but also their perceptional accolades, you can't help but compare yourself to that individual, and they become the judge for you. And sometimes bitterness and resentment gets presented in your behavior, and you start seeing those dirty looks, underlying resentment, and how somebody is perhaps speaking to you. The way to respond to this is just to keep your energy high. If you're coming from the perspective of the abundant man, I've had I remember one conversation in particular where I felt that I felt that resentment, that bitterness being projected onto me, and instead of responding with more bitterness and fueling more negative energy, typically you bring that person up. That is the embodiment of the masculine energy. It's not to disassociate from those people, although depending on how toxic that person is, that might be a appropriate response, but you want to bring those people up. You want to show them the way. You want to be a leader, a teacher, someone who can guide that person. Not belittle them from your ivory tower, but perhaps show them, or let's say offer them, practical application to the problem that they're having, and do it in a very simplistic and procedural format. You don't want to, and again, this is the difference between belittling someone and helping them up, is you don't want to use technical jargon to make it seem like your achievements and accolades were so beyond their capacity. You want to start with actual reasonable steps. Like say it was entrepreneurial, you say, okay, well, all you need to really get started is have a really good skill. So some of the skills that I have are copywriting. Here are some really cool books that I learned copywriting for. Check out these books, these authors. It's not coming from the place of, you have to network with these really high up people and marketing and LinkedIn and using all these technical jargon that are not gonna be conducive to that person's growth. So that's the difference again between how you can move out of that, let's say, judge seat and move into a leader, a guider, an educator, a teacher. So brothers, if this is something you're experiencing, that's the rationality to why it's making itself present in your life. It's just a symptom really that you're also on the correct path, that you are the divine masculine example for some of these men to see and experience. Because remember, they haven't felt that energy. That energy is so lacking. And when they see it, it's like seeing a lion in the wild. It's like they perceive that they were the lion. They think they're king of the jungle because they have no reference point for what that divine masculine is. And then one day they're walking through the undergrowth, they see you, a real lion, and they think, shit, I'm just a lowly hyena. That is the true king of the jungle. And of course you're going to have some resentment towards that. So I hope that analogy kind of ties up those loose ends. If any of you are still struggling with this behavior, you can grab my course below, Sexual Energy Mastery, or you can work with me one-on-one and we can get you to quit porn in less than 2 weeks. But with that being said, if you subscribe to anything that I have said, subscribe to me, and I'll bring you something else very, very soon. Take care, my friends.